Quote, "But the All-Star game, just proving I'm here, I belong, and being the best player in the world. I just intend to keep coming out every single night and just play hard and trying to get these wins and go out there and try to win a championship." So, Matt, what's your reaction to Embiid calling himself the best player in the world?
I don't have a problem with it. I think for me, with Embiid, it's always been between the ears. When he decides to come out and be the dominant force, he's a nightmare. There's no one in the world can guard him, whether he wants to take him from the three-point line or back him in on the block, no one can guard him. It's just consistent. Well, I think what makes good players great and great players superstars is consistency. And he hits some nights he feels it, some nights he doesn't. What they need to know, or what we need to know from him is what Embiid are we going to get? When we find out what Embiid we're going to get, we're going to find out how far they're going to go in the playoffs. But I picked them to win a championship because I was hoping there's some maturity was going to come along, season after season. But I hear a lot of talk, but when he shows that he's locked in and loves it, he's unguardable.
When Ben Simmons doesn't play, he sometimes does feel like the best player in the world. And it's not because they can't play together. Mm-hmm. That's not true. It's not because they don't like each other, per se. Although Ben is a guy who, he's not really an outgoing guy, so he's going to be a little withdrawn. It's that they can't be their best most of the time with each other. And so last night, Ben wasn't in there. He had a back injury. Joel's coming off this terrific performance in the All-Star game. I thought, we talked about this yesterday, his fourth quarter was amazing. He was able to be the centerpiece in the fourth quarter and overtime. He was exhausted because he poured so much energy into that game, but he was still pumping up the crowd. And I just feel like when he's in that mood, as Matt said, and he is moody, when he's in that mood, he is one of the best players in the league. But it's harder when Simmons is there because it's harder to get him into that zone.
You said that they can't be their best necessarily when they're both on the floor together. What do they need to do, guys, to get to that point?
And this is a very simple question with a very simple answer that can't be executed. Ben Simmons needs to be able to pull the guys away. But Ben Simmons doesn't want to do that. I mean, this is a circular conversation. Unless they come up with a style of offense that we haven't seen yet, or Ben Simmons steps out there and creates the space for Joel Embiid, they're going to keep running into each other. Maybe not every night.
Right.
Maybe not in every quarter, but over the course of when it matters.
Do you think that the roster construction, though, is a big problem there, Matt? Because they didn't have a lot of shooting. They've added some guys, Glenn Robinson III and Alec Burke, but initially they didn't have much of it.
And I think that's what they need more than anything because of the way Ben Simmons plays is space. They had Ilyasova, they had J.J. Redick, they had Bellinelli for a while. They had a bunch of guys that you had to honor. With all due respect to Burke and Glenn Rice, you don't necessarily have to give the same type of respect from Glenn Robinson, the same type of respect you had to give those prior guys. So it is what it is at this point. This is their roster. I think that Horford probably needs to come off the bench to create more space. Although he's a stretch, he's just another big guy and a big body, and I don't really feel like that combination is working. But they just have to learn how to do it.
Even last night, as good as a win as it was, the reason that the Sixers had to go to overtime and only almost lost the game was because in the fourth quarter, the Nets put on a 2-3 zone.
Right.
And they couldn't score against it. They went possession after possession after possession. They couldn't score. Alec Burks had his best game as a Sixer last night at 19 points. He still got wide open from the three-point range and put up one of the ugliest shots you'll ever see. The ball missed 3 feet to the left.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen in the playoffs. They're going to go to zone, and they're going to force them into that situation.
We've seen Miami do that successfully against them 3 times, and 1 time on ESPN. Like that is something that you can do to them. But speaking of Miami, Jimmy Butler has said that Joel Embiid, he said this early in the season, can be the best player in the world. Do you believe, though, a big can be the best player in the world?
I wouldn't say overall best player, but he's hands down one of the most talented players in the world.
Why do you suppose Jimmy is saying that?
Well, I'm sure there's other reasons. He likes. He says he's in a place where they like villains, and he's kind of invited him over to be a villain.
He's saying that.
Yeah, I mean there could be some recruiting there.
Is he coming to Miami? Embiid to South Beach? Yeah, like I said, too many nights we have to wonder what Embiid are we going to get.
Yeah.
We know every night what Giannis we're going to get. We know every night what LeBron we're going to get. Every KD, Steph. We know these great players, every night they step on the floor, they're going to do what they do.
I absolutely love Ben Simmons as a player.
Right.
I love Joel Embiid as a player.
Yeah.
I'd want them both.
Right.
But I don't want them both.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a tough spot, certainly. The Bucks, by the way, are at the top of the East right now. They picked up an easy 20-point win over the Pistons last night. So, Brian, let's ask this. Are the Sixers capable of challenging the Bucks in the Eastern Conference?
Man, if you are 26-2 at home, you can challenge to win the title.
Right.
You've got it within you to win the title. But it's the same situation. I think both teams sort of have the same Achilles heel for different reasons. Both teams are going to be very strong on the interior when they want to be. Both teams rely on interior scoring so that the antidote is strong interior defense, which they both can do very well. The Bucks are one of the greatest interior defensive teams in the history of the game. I'm not even exaggerating there. The numbers show that. But at the end of the game, when it really matters, they're going to pack it in and make you shoot.
Right.
And make you create from the outside. On Sunday, we saw, and I keep coming back to this because I really do think it's relevant. We saw at the end of that game, Giannis wasn't doing anything offensively. He was awesome on defense. He's blocking shots. He's great. Offensively, when the chips were down with all those All-Stars, he had trouble doing anything. What happened with Embiid?
Right.
They went into him, but they were able to go into him because the floor was spread with the other players. They had other players spread. So it is the ability for the Sixers to beat the Bucks is there, but they're going to have to check so many boxes and go around so many corners, and they're going to have to do it without home court advantage if they match up, that it is going to be hard, but it could happen.
I'm with Zach Lowe on this, where he says they've basically been constructed, the Sixers, to try to beat the Bucks. The problem is, can the Sixers get to the Bucks, Matt?
Yeah, no, I definitely think they have a chance if they get there. A lot's going to ride on Embiid and what guy shows up. Like I said, Ben Simmons is going to have to impose as well. I think last year in the playoffs, a few games versus the Nets, he just imposes. He's bigger and stronger than any person out there. So whether it's going by him, backing him down, staying on the offensive glass, creating plays for other players, he has to be dominant every single night. And then Embiid has to be the best Embiid he can be. And then, you know, the supporting casters have to.
Somebody's got to hit some shots. I mean,
Right.
if in a series, if you get Alec Burks hitting shots at the right moment,
Yeah.
in the one road game you got to win, he hits 2 threes, or in the moment, you can do it.
I think the Sixers are capable of being the best defensive team in the league. Like, they have that kind of personnel. And if they can figure that part out, maybe they don't need the shots as much because defense generally tends to travel in those situations.
Absolutely.
Could be ugly, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, you may have to go 90s basketball if you're them.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.